2008, LeBron James received an offer: take $1 million cash, or take equity in Beats by Dre. LeBron chose the cash. 6 years later, Apple bought Beats for $3 billion, and if LeBron had taken equity that day, he'd be $200 million richer today. But the story doesn't end there, because in 2013, LeBron came back, and the move he made earned him $30 million. How? And more importantly, why was that first rejection the best lesson of his career? Summer 2008. Cleveland. LeBron James was 23 years old, three-time NBA All-Star, already one of the best players in the league. Nike endorsement deal worth $90 million. Young, rich, successful, but not yet a champion, not yet a billionaire, not yet the LeBron we know today. He was in year 5 of his NBA career, making about $15 million per year from the Cavaliers, another $20–25 million from endorsements. By any measure, he was wealthy, but wealth and understanding wealth are two different things. LeBron at 23 was still figuring out money. He'd grown up with nothing, absolutely nothing. His mum Gloria raised him alone in Akron, Ohio. They moved 12 times before he was 10. Sometimes they had electricity, sometimes they didn't. So when LeBron started making millions in the NBA, his relationship with money was complicated. On one hand, he never wanted to be broke again. On the other hand, he didn't fully understand how to make money work for him long term. He was in what financial experts call the accumulation phase, making money, saving money, spending money, but not yet investing strategically. That was about to change. That summer, LeBron got a phone call that would change his understanding of business forever. The caller, Jimmy Iovine, music industry legend, co-founder of Interscope Records, the man behind Eminem, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and countless other superstars. Jimmy wasn't just calling to chat. He had a proposition. But before we get to the call, you need to understand who Jimmy Iovine was and why his opinion mattered. Jimmy Iovine grew up in Brooklyn, working-class Italian-American family, started as a recording engineer in the 1970s, worked with John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty. By the 1980s, he was producing albums. By the 1990s, he co-founded Interscope Records with Ted Field. Interscope became one of the most successful record labels in history: Death Row Records, Aftermath Entertainment, Eminem, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, Lady Gaga, Kendrick Lamar. The list goes on. Jimmy had a gift. He could spot talent. He could identify trends before they became mainstream. And he understood branding better than almost anyone in the music business. By 2008, Jimmy was a legend, worth hundreds of millions, respected by everyone in entertainment. So when Jimmy Iovine calls you with a business opportunity, you listen. LeBron answered the phone. LeBron, it's Jimmy Iovine. You got a minute? Of course, Mr. Iovine. What's up? I'm working on something with Dre, a new company. We're calling it Beats by Dre. High-end headphones. We think it's going to be huge, and we want you involved. LeBron was intrigued. Dr. Dre was a legend, and Jimmy Iovine didn't call unless it was serious. Tell me more, LeBron said. Jimmy explained the vision. The audio market was dominated by cheap, low-quality headphones. Even premium brands like Bose and Sennheiser were viewed as technical, not cultural. They were for audiophiles and studio engineers, not for regular people. Beats was going to change that. They were going to make headphones cool, fashionable, a status symbol, something you wore not just to listen to music, but to make a statement. We're going after the culture, Jimmy said. Hip-hop, sports, fashion. We want Beats to be what people think of when they think of premium audio, and we want athletes and artists involved from the beginning. Sounds cool, LeBron said. What do you need from me? 2 options, Jimmy said. Option 1, standard endorsement deal. You wear Beats, we pay you $1 million upfront, plus royalties on sales. Option 2, no upfront money, but you get equity in the company. You become a partner, you own a piece of what we're building. LeBron paused. This was new territory for him. How much equity? LeBron asked. We're offering select partners between 1% and 2% depending on their involvement and investment. For you, we'd probably do 1.5%. LeBron did quick math in his head. If the company became successful, really successful, that 1.5% could be worth a lot. But if the company failed, it would be worth nothing. Meanwhile, $1 million cash was guaranteed. No risk, just money. Can I think about it? LeBron asked. Of course, Jimmy said, but don't take too long. We're moving fast. Other athletes are interested. We need to lock in our partners soon. The call ended. LeBron sat there, staring at his phone. He'd just been offered a choice that would define his financial future. But he didn't know it yet, because here's what LeBron was thinking. I'm a basketball player, not a tech guy, not a business guy. I don't know anything about headphones. And equity, what does that even mean? If the company fails, I get nothing. But $1 million cash, that's guaranteed money. That's real. LeBron's mind was racing. This was 2008. He'd been in the NBA for 5 years, made good money, but his understanding of business was limited. He knew how to sign endorsement deals, show up, wear the product, collect the check. Simple, but equity, ownership, long-term value, those concepts were foreign to him. So LeBron did what any smart person would do. He asked his team. First stop, his agent, Leon Rose. Leon was one of the most powerful agents in basketball, represented multiple All-Stars, smart, connected, experienced. LeBron called him. Leon, I got this offer from Jimmy Iovine, Beats by Dre. He wants me to either take $1 million cash or take equity in the company. What do you think? Leon thought for a moment. LeBron, I know Jimmy, he's legit. Dr. Dre is legit. But here's the thing, headphone companies are a gamble. The market is crowded. Bose, Sony, Sennheiser, they've been around forever. Can Beats really compete? I don't know. The safe play is the cash. Next, LeBron called his financial advisor, a guy who managed his investments, his savings, his portfolio. What do you think? LeBron asked. The advisor ran numbers. LeBron, you're making $15 million a year from the Cavs, another $25 million from endorsements. $1 million is nice, but it's not life-changing for you. However, it's guaranteed. Equity is a risk. If Beats fails, which most startups do, you get nothing. I'd recommend the cash. Bank it. Invest it in safe assets, real estate, bonds. Diversify. Conservative advice. Logical. Safe. Finally, LeBron talked to his mum, Gloria. She'd been with him through everything. She understood struggle. She understood survival. Mum, what do you think? Gloria was blunt. Baby, I don't know nothing about equity or headphones or none of that. But I know this, $1 million is real money. You can touch it. You can use it. This equity thing, it's a promise, and promises can be broken. Take the money. Make sure we're secure. That's what matters. Gloria's advice came from a place of love and fear. She'd been poor her entire life. The idea of turning down guaranteed money for a maybe, that terrified her. LeBron listened to all of them. His agent, his financial advisor, his mum, and they all said the same thing. Take the cash. So that's what he did. He called Jimmy Iovine back. Jimmy, I appreciate the offer. I'm going to go with the cash option, the $1 million up front. There was a pause on the other end of the line. LeBron couldn't see it, but Jimmy was disappointed. Not angry, just disappointed, because Jimmy knew. He knew that equity was the better deal. He knew that Beats was going to be huge. He knew that LeBron was leaving money on the table. But Jimmy also understood. LeBron was young. He didn't have the business education. He was operating from a scarcity mindset shaped by poverty. Okay, LeBron, Jimmy said, we'll do the cash deal. But I want you to remember something. The real wealth in business isn't in getting paid. It's in owning a piece of what you're building. Keep that in mind for the future. I will, LeBron said. But he didn't really understand what Jimmy meant. Not yet. The deal was done. LeBron got his $1 million. He did a photo shoot wearing Beats. Did some promotional appearances, collected his check, and at the time it felt like a good decision. Smart, safe, responsible, but it was the most expensive mistake of his life. Let's talk about what LeBron didn't know in 2008. Because understanding this context is crucial. In 2008, the concept of athlete equity deals was still relatively new. Michael Jordan had his Jordan brand deal with Nike, which included royalties and eventual ownership stakes. That was revolutionary in the 1980s. But most athletes in 2008 were still doing traditional endorsement deals, flat fees, annual payments, no ownership. The tech boom was starting to change that. Athletes were beginning to invest in startups, but it was rare, and it was risky. LeBron had heard stories, some good, some bad. Good. Magic Johnson invested in Starbucks franchises in urban areas in the 1990s, made millions. Smart move. Bad. Countless athletes had invested in startups that failed, lost everything, walked away with nothing. So the conventional wisdom in 2008 was, athletes should stick to what they know. Sports, endorsements, real estate, safe investments, equity in a headphone startup. That was a gamble, and LeBron, shaped by poverty and instability, wasn't ready to gamble. Not yet. Because 6 years later, that equity he turned down would be worth over $200 million, and LeBron would spend years regretting that choice. But before we get to the regret, you need to understand why LeBron made that decision in the first place. Because it wasn't just about money, it was about mindset, about psychology, about the way poverty shapes how you think about wealth. LeBron grew up with nothing, and I mean nothing. His mom Gloria was 16 when she had him. Single, no support, no money. They bounced around Akron, Ohio, 12 different homes before LeBron was 10 years old. Some nights, they didn't have food. Some months, they didn't have electricity. Some years, they didn't have stability. LeBron remembers being 9 years old, coming home from school, and not knowing if they'd still be living in the same place the next week. That kind of childhood creates a specific relationship with money. You don't think long-term, you think survival. You think, how do I make sure I don't go hungry tonight? So when LeBron made it to the NBA at 18 and signed that $90 million Nike deal, his priority wasn't building wealth, it was securing wealth. Never again, LeBron thought. Never again will my mum cry because she can't pay rent. Never again will we be homeless. Never again will we struggle. That's why he took the Nike cash in 2003. That's why he took the Beats cash in 2008. Cash felt real. Cash felt safe. Cash was something he could hold, touch and know it was his. Equity. Equity was a promise, a concept, a gamble, and LeBron had gambled his whole life just trying to survive. He didn't want to gamble anymore, so he took the $1 million, and for a while, it felt like the right decision. He bought his mum a bigger house, took care of his friends, invested in safe assets, did everything a responsible young athlete should do. But then Beats started to blow up, and LeBron started to realize what he'd missed. 2012, Beats by Dre launched, and it was an instant cultural phenomenon. The headphones were everywhere. Hip-hop artists wore them in music videos. Athletes wore them during warm-ups. Celebrities were photographed with them at airports. Dr. Dre's face was on the packaging. His name was on the brand. And his story, legendary producer, co-founder of NWA, the man who discovered Eminem and 50 Cent, gave the brand instant credibility. But it wasn't just about Dre. The marketing was genius. Beats positioned themselves as a lifestyle brand, not just a tech product. They weren't competing with Bose or Sennheiser. They were competing with Nike, Apple, luxury fashion brands. Product placement was everywhere. Music videos, movies, TV shows. You couldn't watch anything without seeing someone wearing Beats, and the strategy worked. By 2010, Beats had 20% of the premium headphone market. By 2012, they had over 60%. Revenue in 2012, over $1 billion, and the company was valued at around $1.5 billion. LeBron watched all of this unfold, saw the billboards, saw his friends wearing Beats, saw the brand become a cultural icon, and he started doing the math. If he'd taken 1.5% equity in 2008, and the company was now worth $1.5 billion, that's $22.5 million. But the company was growing fast, and rumors were circulating that a bigger company, maybe Apple, maybe Samsung, might acquire Beats. If that happened, the valuation could triple, could quadruple. LeBron's 1.5% could have been worth $50 million, maybe $100 million, and all he'd have to do was nothing. Just own it, watch it grow, cash out when the time came. But he didn't own anything. He'd taken the $1 million cash, and while $1 million was still a lot of money, it was nothing compared to what he could have had. The regret started to sink in. 2012 was a big year for LeBron. He won his first NBA championship with the Miami Heat, finally silenced the critics who said he couldn't win, finally proved he was one of the all-time greats. But privately, LeBron was struggling with the Beats decision. He'd bring it up in conversations with friends. Man, I should have taken the equity. That was stupid. I didn't understand what I was doing. His business manager, Maverick Carter, noticed. LeBron, you gotta let it go. You made a decision. You can't change it. Move forward. But LeBron couldn't let it go. Because it wasn't just about the money. It was about the lesson. He'd been presented with a once-in-a-generation opportunity. A chance to own a piece of something that would become $1 billion brand. And he'd said no, because he didn't understand equity. That ignorance cost him tens of millions of dollars. Maybe more. And LeBron hated that. He hated feeling stupid. He hated feeling like he'd been outsmarted. Not by Jimmy Iovine, not by Dr. Dre, but by his own lack of knowledge. So LeBron made a decision. He was going to educate himself. Really educate himself. About business, about equity, about ownership. He started reading books on investing, books on startups, books on venture capital, books on building wealth. He started meeting with successful business people. Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Sheryl Sandberg, people who understood equity and long-term value. He started asking questions. How do you evaluate a company? How do you know if equity is worth it? What's the difference between ownership and getting paid? And slowly, LeBron's understanding of business transformed. He realized the Beats mistake was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it woke him up. It forced him to learn. It changed his entire approach to money. From that point forward, LeBron adopted a new philosophy: equity over cash, ownership over endorsements, long-term over short-term. And that philosophy would eventually make him a billionaire. But first, he needed redemption. He needed a second chance at Beats, and in 2013, he got one. 2008-12, Beats by Dre launched, and it was an instant hit. The headphones were everywhere. Hip-hop artists wore them, athletes wore them, celebrities wore them. Dr. Dre himself became the face of the brand. His story, legendary producer, co-founder of NWA, mastermind behind Eminem, gave the brand credibility. But it wasn't just about Dre, it was about the culture. Beats represented status, success, cool, and the marketing was genius. Product placement in music videos, athletes wearing them during warm-ups, celebrities photographed with them at airports. Beats weren't just headphones, they were a lifestyle. By 2012, Beats had captured 27% of the headphone market in the US. Revenue was over $1 billion annually, and LeBron, he was watching. seeing the brand blow up, seeing his peers get equity deals, seeing the value skyrocket, and he was thinking, I could have been part of this, I should have been part of this. Other athletes had taken the equity deal, some NBA players, some NFL guys, and while their names weren't publicly disclosed, whispers started circulating. Those guys are about to get paid when Beats sells. LeBron started doing the math. If he'd taken even 1% equity instead of the $1 million cash, and the company was now valued at over $1 billion, his stake would be worth. He couldn't even finish the calculation. It hurt too much. That's when the regret set in. 2012. The monkey was finally off his back. He was a champion. But privately, he was kicking himself over the Beats decision. In interviews years later, LeBron admitted, the Beats deal was one of my biggest regrets. I took the cash. I didn't understand equity. I didn't understand ownership, and I learned a very expensive lesson. But here's the thing about LeBron. He learns from his mistakes, fast, and the Beats lesson fundamentally changed how he approached business. From that moment on, LeBron adopted a new philosophy: equity over cash, ownership over endorsements, long-term over short-term. And that philosophy would make him a billionaire. But first, he needed a second chance at Beats, and miraculously, he got one. 2013, 5 years after LeBron turned down equity in Beats, Jimmy Iovine called him again. LeBron saw the name on his phone, and his heart skipped a beat. He knew what this call might be about. Jimmy, LeBron answered. LeBron, how are you? Good. Great, actually. Just won back-to-back championships. Life is good. Congratulations. I watched both finals. You were incredible. Thanks, man. What's going on? Jimmy got to the point. LeBron, we're doing another funding round. Beats is growing faster than we imagined. We're preparing for something big, and I want to give you another opportunity, a chance to get in. LeBron's pulse quickened. This was it, his redemption. I'm listening, LeBron said, trying to keep his voice calm. We're offering select partners a chance to invest. You'd put in cash several $1 million and receive equity based on our current valuation. Not as much as you would have gotten in 2008, obviously, but still significant. You interested? LeBron didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. I'm in. Whatever it takes, I'm in. Jimmy smiled on the other end of the phone. He'd been hoping LeBron would say that. Good, I'll have my team send over the details. But LeBron, before I go, I want to say something. What's that? Most people don't get second chances in business. You're getting one because I believe in you, because I know you've learned from 2008. Don't waste it this time. I won't, LeBron said. I promise. The call ended. LeBron immediately called Maverick Carter, his business manager and childhood friend. Mav, Jimmy Iovine just called. Beats is doing another round. I'm investing. Whatever it takes. Maverick was cautious. How much are they asking? He didn't say exactly, but I'm guessing 5 to 10 million. That's a lot of cash, LeBron. I don't care. I'm not making the same mistake twice. I'm doing this. Maverick heard the determination in LeBron's voice. This wasn't about money. This was about redemption. All right, let's see the terms. But if you're sure, I'm with you. I'm sure, LeBron said. Over the next few weeks, LeBron's team reviewed the deal. The terms were solid. Beats was valued at around $1 billion. LeBron would invest approximately 6 to 8 million and receive roughly 0.5 to 1% equity, depending on final negotiations. It wasn't as good as the original 2008 offer. That 1.5% equity for essentially free, just endorsement work, was gone forever. But it was still a great deal, because Beats was on the verge of something massive. LeBron signed the paperwork, wrote the check, and became an official investor in Beats by Dre. This time, he wasn't just an endorser, he was an owner, and it felt different. It felt right. For the next year, LeBron watched closely. He attended Beats meetings, talked to Jimmy and Dre about strategy, learned how they were positioning the company for acquisition, because that's what was happening. Beats wasn't just growing to be a successful independent company, they were grooming the company to be acquired by a tech giant. Apple, Google, Samsung, Microsoft, all of them were potential buyers, and in early 2014, the negotiations with Apple began. LeBron didn't know the details. He wasn't in the room, but he knew something big was happening. Then, on May 28, 2014, the announcement came. Apple was acquiring Beats by Dre for $3 billion. $3 billion. The largest acquisition in Apple's history at that time. Dr. Dre became hip-hop's first billionaire overnight. Jimmy Iovine walked away with hundreds of millions, and the investors who had equity, including LeBron, cashed out. LeBron's exact payout has never been publicly disclosed, but based on industry estimates and the equity structure, LeBron likely made somewhere between $25 million and $35 million from a 6 to 8 million investment in less than 1 year. That's a 300–500% return. In the world of venture capital, that's a home run, a grand slam. LeBron called Maverick the day the deal closed. We did it, Mav. We actually did it. Maverick laughed. You did it. You got your redemption. Not fully, LeBron said. I still lost out on the original deal, but at least I didn't miss out completely. That's the right attitude, Maverick said. You learned, you adjusted, you came back. That's what matters. LeBron hung up the phone and sat there for a moment, reflecting. He thought about 2008, about how naive he'd been, about how he'd prioritized safety over potential. He thought about the 5 years between 2008 and 2013, the years he spent kicking himself, the years he spent learning, the years he spent preparing for a second chance, and he thought about now, 2014, walking away with $30 million from a decision that almost slipped away. It wasn't the $150 million he could have made from the original deal, but it was still life-changing. And more importantly, it was proof he'd learned the lesson. Equity over cash, ownership over endorsements, long-term over short-term. That lesson would guide every business decision LeBron made for the rest of his career, and it would make him a billionaire. Now let's talk about what happened after the Apple deal. Because the Beats story didn't just teach LeBron about equity, it taught him how to be a businessman. 2014, after cashing out from Beats, LeBron completely transformed his approach to business. He formed a new company, LRMR Ventures. LeBron, Randy, Maverick, Rich, his core business team. The mandate was simple: find equity opportunities, build ownership, create long-term wealth. And LeBron started moving aggressively. Blaze Pizza, 2012-2017. Actually, this investment came before the Beats redemption. In 2012, while LeBron was still learning his lesson, he made a smart move. Blaze Pizza was a new fast casual pizza chain, build-your-own pizza concept. Chipotle, but for pizza. The founders approached LeBron, not for endorsement, for investment. LeBron put in $1 million for roughly 10% of the company. At the time, some people thought it was risky. A pizza chain? Really? But LeBron had learned from Beats. He did his homework, tasted the product, understood the business model, met the founders, believed in the vision. By 2017, Blaze Pizza had over 200 locations. The company was valued at $250 million. LeBron's stake, approximately $25 to $30 million. That's 25 to 30x return on his investment. And he did it by following the Beats lesson. Take equity, be patient, let it grow. Liverpool FC, 2011. In 2011, LeBron bought a 2% stake in Liverpool Football Club for about $6.5 million. At the time, people laughed. LeBron doesn't know anything about soccer. Why is he buying a soccer team? But LeBron wasn't buying it because he loved soccer. He was buying it because he understood brand value, global reach, long-term appreciation. Liverpool was a legendary club. Premier League, Champions League, global fan base. The brand was worth more than the current valuation suggested. By 2021, Liverpool's valuation had more than tripled. LeBron's 2% stake was worth over $45 million. Another massive return. Another proof that the Beats lesson had stuck. SpringHill Company, 2015. This one is personal for LeBron. SpringHill Company is his media and entertainment empire. Production company, content creation, documentaries, movies, TV shows. LeBron didn't just want to be in front of the camera. He wanted to own the camera, own the content, own the distribution. In 2020, SpringHill raised significant capital. The company was valued at $725 million. LeBron owns a majority stake, which means his ownership is worth over $400 million. All because he learned the lesson from Beats. Ownership is everything. Nike lifetime deal, 2015. Remember that $90 million Nike deal LeBron signed in 2003? The one where he chose some equity but mostly cash? Well, in 2015, after learning the Beats lesson, LeBron renegotiated with Nike. This time, he didn't just want money. He wanted a lifetime partnership with significant equity and royalty structures. The deal is estimated to be worth over $1 billion over the course of LeBron's lifetime. That's billion, with a B, and it's structured around ownership, royalties, long-term partnership, not just cash, but equity in his own brand within Nike. The Beats lesson applied. Let's add up the numbers. Minus NBA career earnings. Winning career earnings. Minus Nike lifetime deal. Win 1 billion plus. Beats investment 2013. Winning follow on STL left pre-spline. Beats investment 2013. Winning follow on STL we 25 million. SpringHill Company. Winning follow more 100 million. Is 100 million plus. Total. Over $2 billion in career earnings and equity value. LeBron became a billionaire in 2022. First active NBA player to do so. And the majority of his wealth, it's not from basketball, it's from equity, ownership. The lesson he learned from Beats. If LeBron had stuck with his 2008 mindset, take cash, avoid risk, he'd still be wealthy, probably worth 500-600 million. But by learning the Beats lesson, by shifting to an ownership mindset, he became a billionaire. That's the difference. That's the power of one lesson learned. Term wealth. Cash is good, ownership is better. That shift didn't just apply to Beats, it applied to everything. After the Beats lesson, LeBron started making different decisions. Blaze Pizza, 2012. LeBron invested $1 million for a 10% stake. By 2017, his stake was worth an estimated $40 million. Liverpool FC, 2011. LeBron bought a 2% stake in the soccer club for about $6.5 million. By 2021, that stake was worth over $45 million. SpringHill Company, 2020. LeBron's media company raised capital at a valuation of $725 million. LeBron owns a significant stake. All of these investments followed the same principle: equity over cash, ownership over endorsements, and it's made LeBron a billionaire, not from basketball, from business. In 2022, Forbes confirmed LeBron James is officially a billionaire, the first active NBA player to reach that milestone. His NBA earnings, about $400 million over his career. His business investments and equity stakes, over $600 million. Without the Beats lesson, LeBron might still be wealthy, but would he be a billionaire? Probably not. Because the Beats experience taught him, the real money isn't in getting paid, it's in owning a piece of what you're building. Now let's talk about the other athletes who were offered the Beats deal. Because LeBron wasn't the only one. According to reports, Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre approached multiple athletes in 2008. Some took the equity, some took the cash. The ones who took equity, will.i.am, Black Eyed Peas, not an athlete, but he was offered the deal, took equity, made an estimated $7 to $10 million when Apple bought Beats. Interscope artists, several rappers and producers who were close to Dre took small equity stakes. They all became multi-millionaires overnight in 2014. The ones who took cash? Most of them have never publicly admitted it, but industry insiders suggest several NBA and NFL players passed on equity for upfront money, and they all regret it, just like LeBron did. But here's the difference: LeBron got a second chance, and he didn't waste it. Let's break down the numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. 2008 original offer, minus LeBron's choice, $1 million cash, minus estimated equity offered, 1 to 2%. If he'd taken 1.5% equity, minus 2014 Apple sale at $3 billion, but Beats was valued higher internally, closer to $150 million potential. Plus, early equity holders often get preferential terms. Realistic payout, 100 tomon in second chance, plus LeBron's investment, estimated 5 tomons $10 million. Equity received, estimated 0.5 tomon %. 2014 Apple sale, 25 tomon stend. The Apple sale, 25 tomon stend $50 million. What LeBron could have made, 500% in less than 1 year. The math, minus what LeBron actually made, $2,550 million. Difference, $120 million left on the table. But here's the plot twist: LeBron doesn't see it as a loss anymore. He sees it as tuition. I paid $120 million for the most valuable business lesson of my life, LeBron said in a 2019 interview. And that lesson has made me way more than $120 million since then. So was it a mistake? Yeah. But was it the best mistake I ever made? Absolutely. That mindset shift is everything, because most people would have dwelled on the loss, would have beaten themselves up, would have played it safe forever to avoid making another mistake. But LeBron did the opposite. He leaned into risk, into equity, into ownership, and it paid off massively. Now let's talk about Jimmy Iovine, because he's the unsung hero of this story. Jimmy could have written LeBron off after the 2008 rejection, could have said, "You had your chance, you blew it, we're moving on." But Jimmy didn't do that, because Jimmy understood something important. LeBron was young, inexperienced, operating with a scarcity mindset shaped by poverty, and Jimmy believed in second chances. So in 2013, when Beats was preparing for the Apple sale, Jimmy called LeBron. "I'm giving you another shot," Jimmy said. "Don't blow it this time." And LeBron didn't. That relationship, built on mutual respect, honesty, and second chances, became a blueprint for how LeBron operates in business today. He gives people second chances. He invests in relationships, not just transactions. He understands that loyalty and trust matter more than short-term wins. And that philosophy has opened doors for LeBron that cash alone never could. But wait, there's more to this story that most people don't know. After the Apple deal closed in 2014, LeBron did something smart. He reached out to Dr. Dre, not to congratulate him, not to celebrate, but to learn. LeBron wanted to understand. How did Dre build Beats? What decisions did he make? What mistakes did he avoid? They met for dinner in Los Angeles, just the two of them. No cameras, no press, and Dre gave LeBron a masterclass in brand building. LeBron, Beats wasn't about headphones, Dre said. It was about culture, about making people feel like they're part of something bigger. That's what you need to do. Whatever business you build, make it cultural, make it meaningful. Don't just sell products, sell identity. LeBron took notes, literally. He wrote down everything Dre said, and those notes became the foundation for SpringHill Company, LeBron's media empire. SpringHill isn't just a production company. It's a cultural movement, telling stories that matter, amplifying voices that are often ignored, building a legacy that goes beyond entertainment. And it all traces back to that dinner with Dre, which traces back to the Beats investment, which traces back to the 2008 mistake. See how this works. One decision, one mistake, created a chain reaction that shaped LeBron's entire business philosophy. That's the power of learning from failure. Let's fast forward to 2024. LeBron is 39 years old, still playing in the NBA, still dominant, but his focus has shifted. Basketball is what he does. Business is who he is. He's invested in over 20 companies. He's a part owner of multiple sports franchises. He's building schools, producing movies, launching products, and every single investment follows the same principle: equity first, ownership always. In a 2023 interview with GQ, LeBron was asked, "What's the best business advice you've ever received?" His answer: "Own something. Don't just get paid. Own a piece of what you're building, because the real wealth isn't in the paycheck, it's in the equity." Then the interviewer asked, "Where did you learn that?" LeBron smiled. "Beats by Dre. I turned down equity for cash. Worst decision of my life, but also the best lesson I ever learned." That's the full circle moment, the mistake that became the catalyst. Now here's the part that will blow your mind. If LeBron had taken the original Beats equity in 2008 and made $150 million, would he have learned the lesson? Probably not, because success doesn't teach you as much as failure does. If LeBron had gotten rich off Beats without understanding why, he might have kept making the same short-term decisions, might have kept taking cash over equity. But because he failed, because he lost $120 million, he was forced to confront his own ignorance, forced to educate himself, forced to change, and that change made him a billionaire. So in a weird way, losing $120 million was the best investment LeBron ever made, because it bought him knowledge, wisdom, a new way of thinking, and that's worth more than any single payout. Here's the lesson for everyone reading this. You're going to make mistakes, bad decisions, costly errors. The question isn't, will I mess up? The question is, what will I do after I mess up? Will you dwell on it, beat yourself up, play it safe forever, or will you learn from it, adjust, come back stronger? LeBron chose the latter, and it made all the difference. 2008, chose cash, lost $120 million. 2013, chose equity, made $30 million. 2024, chose ownership everywhere, became a billionaire. That's the progression, that's the arc, and it all started with a mistake. So if you're sitting on a bad decision right now, a deal you regret, an opportunity you missed, a choice you wish you could take back, don't despair, learn from it, let it change you, let it make you better, because the most expensive mistakes often become the most valuable lessons. LeBron James lost $200 million on one decision, but he made $30 million getting it right the second time. And more importantly, he gained $1 billion mindset. That's the real win, not the money, the mindset, because mindset determines your trajectory, your decisions, your future, and LeBron's mindset, shaped by failure, refined by experience, proven by results, is what separates him from everyone else. He's not just a great basketball player, he's a great businessman, and it all traces back to the day he turned down Beats equity, the mistake that changed everything. The best lessons cost the most. LeBron James paid $120 million to learn about equity. And that lesson made him a billionaire. So next time you make a mistake, next time you lose money, miss an opportunity, or choose wrong, ask yourself, what's the lesson here? Because if you learn it, if you really internalize it, that mistake might be the best investment you ever made, just like it was for LeBron.